Titano charge you money. Yes, because this joke hasn't been overused too much. And instead, I'm going to be using it for what, the, 1, 2, 3, the 4th time. And still, good joke idea. You see, these things used to cost a lot of money and they used to charge you for them, and the name of the show is called Power Rangers Dino Charge, so it works as a joke. Ignore what I just said, right? Oh goodness. This is the Brachiozord, or the Titanosord as it's referred to. It's called the Brachiozord. As you can see by its long neck, it won't even fit in the flipping camera frame. But for some reason, certain parts of the show and the toy line refer to it as a Titanosaurus. As in Titanosord. But I digress about this item. We got to get back onto this. I digress. I'm talking about this. Sorry about that. This is, of course, the Brachiocharger. With full slides, and again in the translucent colour. This again would be normally considered a normal Titanosaurus because it's just clear pink code, and the Brachiosaurus done in nice metallic silver, which I do enjoy seeing on these chargers. Now, very quickly, we're just going to show off the charger gimmick for this, and because I don't want to muck about with the camera, I'm just going to remove the Brachiosaurus head and show you here. Now again, this is completely different to the Japanese version because the original Japanese version has sounds. Opening the mouth, and we already see a difference because in the Japanese version this mouth is supposed to go somewhere like down to here, this point here, but it doesn't do that. And I for one, like the fact it doesn't do that because it's more realistic. Like, if human mouths could open all the way down to their necks, it would be a right nightmare. It'd be horrible. It'd be horrifying. Right, using the charger. And now I think this instance makes the charger a bit harder to insert because of the top piece. Taking that away becomes a lot easier. But for the effect, we need to have this on, which makes it harder. Anyway, pushing the charger in won't do anything because it's not locked in. By actually pushing it in like a button, it will pop out this little cannon thing that looks like a Dino charger. This wasn't in the show. Was it in Super Sentai? This is a much bigger pop-out weapon compared to the Plesio thing. The cannons on that Zord. Could this be classified as an actual Dino charger? Probably. It looks like one, but it doesn't function as one. There is no paint on this. It's just red and grey. There's no paint on it. It's nicely sculpted though. I was watching it because it was a Power Ranger tube, I think it was. Another guy from the UK. He thinks that this was maybe inspired by a thing from Tokuja, because when this came out in 2016, they had Tokuja all done and dusted, because they were thinking of that because when Tokuja became Dino Charge, that was when Tokuja had just finished airing, so maybe they did think of something like this, because this maybe looks a bit like Tokyo with the way he extends the Red Resha in a way which we won't actually go there because it's we're going to get sidetracked. One thing I realised earlier is that there's a little moulded detail in the back, which is the Dino Charger shape, and that's how it makes the charger stay. And yeah, the little black button you see at the bottom is literally the trigger for the spring mechanism. So I could literally put a finger in there myself and release the cannon without doing anything else. No charger involved. Right. With that out of the way, we can get back onto the Megazord formation, because this does indeed transform into the Titano Charge Megazord. But before that, again, I'm getting sidetracked. But before that, we need to have a look at the paint and missing details. And yeah, in Zord mode, The paint doesn't look so hot. Yeah, they've painted up the arms here, I think. These black front legs, they're all black plastic, so that don't count. There is no paint detail on this item in Zord mode, I do not think. Which is it's a bit pathetic. Because again, like the Dino Charge Megazord and the Terra Charge Megazord did a good job for paint, but it seems to have declined somewhat. So it doesn't. No, it's not good in Zord mode. But things do improve when it comes to Megazord mode. And two more things I will point out here. Firstly, there's some gold, or not gold, but like rubber, tan colour dinosaur heads that belong to. They're meant to belong to each Dinozord. I think the auxiliary ones. So that's charges 11 to 23. So it may appear that only some of the mind are represented on this Megazord because of the gold detail. But if you look, there's some detailing like here and here on the legs where there's molded detail, but it hasn't been painted up. It was painted up on the Japanese version. And the other thing I needed to point out is that, again, the Japanese version's got sounds, and it was meant to be a place where you could keep all of the auxiliary charges, the Denshi. But on this one, again, to save money, they've literally just made it one big slab. It's a brick. These charges, they do not come out. They are stuck in there. They are molded to detail. In fact, I'll show you in more detail if the entire blooming thing didn't just come apart. Right. As you can see, one of the ways you can tell at a glance that this is fake is because they've all got 6 dots on them. These are meant to be pins for them all, for like the ID pins, similar to the pins found on a normal Dino Charger, i.e. these. Except the difference is the actual Dino Chargers only have 5 pins available for combination, which I'm going to demonstrate on the Spino Charger, which is going to appear in the next video. As you can see, this is all 5 pins. But these ones have 6 pins because these are meant to be mock-ups of the Japanese Zudenshi, which have 6 pins total. So yeah, if you're a toy expert, you'll know what this is, basically. And before we get to Megazord mode, I'm just going to point out that they've done the eyes up on this head quite well. And yeah, this is meant to be the ammonite on top. They've done the eyes up quite well. They've added some detailing, but again, I digress. We should get to the Megazord transformation. So the first thing we need to do is we need to remove the tail. On the Japanese version, this would fold up to the back like this, and it doesn't do that. Tail's got some nice molded detailing. Again, if you're a Sentai expert, you will know that this little pattern here, this molded detail, that's meant to come off and attach to one of the helmets, and it doesn't do it on this. Also, this is meant to be painted red, and it's not. Again, it's a nice rendition of the Dino Charge logo with the dino mouth, but this version kind of falls a bit short. These little gold and about yellowish pieces, those are rubber, along with the rubber soft plastic. This handle is also made out of rubber. And then what you need to do is you need to take this entire back part, fold it up like this, remove the brachio neck. Here we go. Then remove the head of the Brachiosaurus. And this is just one big grey slab. There's nothing. There is no painted detail on this entire brick. It's literally just grey and black plastic. It's nothing different. Aside from this, which is red, but there is no painted detail on this at all. And that's a huge, massive shame. They could have done at least a bit of paint. And then what you need to do is you need to fold this up here, click in the leg joints, and you have to go up here, spin these arms out so the legs are facing in like a R shape almost. Fold the legs into the arms, bring the arms down, and then one more final thing you need to do is take the Brachiosaurus head. Inside there's Megazord head. You fold that down, and you attach it onto the top. And kaboom, you now have the Titano Charge Megazord. It's a very, very bulky Megazord. It's meant to be, in Sentai at least, it's meant to be the strongest Megazord. The strongest Megazord accessible by a singular ranger. It's also meant to be, I don't know if this is going into Kyorager spoilers or not, but it would be the equivalent of the Dino Charge command center almost. It was technically that, but they cut that feature from Dino Charge. That's what this is meant to be. So a bit of a Kyorager spoiler if you want to see that, but I highly doubt it, because you probably don't even know what Super Sentai is. I don't know. I'm judging harshly now. I should stop. Design, paint wise, for this Megazord, it improves drastically as there's some black and red paint being used on the front part of the Megazord, and that's the only paint I can see. Granted, there is a lot of it for a Power Rangers toy at least, but that is it. There is no paint on the rest of this Megazord, and I'm shocked because they could have painted up the arms. I mean, they do tend to leave out the decorations on the legs, but the fact they haven't painted the arms, why? It feels like an unnecessary thing they'd miss out. Again, with the Zord Builder pegs on the shoulders, they don't look as bad here, which is a point for this Megazord, because it's not like they stuck any on the legs, which is, I mean, I'm glad for that. Looking at you, Dino Charge Megazord, you've got some Zord Builder pegs on your legs, but the fact they've kept it down to only having 2 on the shoulders, they're not that much of an eyesore for me. I don't really mind them. Anyway, for the Megazord's weapon, we've got to take the 2 remaining pieces here, and then there's a charger port here, which is normally used for a snapping combination. But no, we just have to attach the little tail piece to it, and this is its weapon. It's like a staff weapon. Alternatively, it can also be a cannon weapon, because this feature still remained intact, but in Kyorager, it's a staff weapon. Design-wise, it looks wrong. It looks wrong. It looks wrong. It's meant to have the Brachiosaurus head on top of here, but it just looks like a dislocated jaw on a stick. It doesn't look right. I don't care what they claim it is in Sentai. I don't like this design. It's literally just a singular jaw doing nothing. I think they actually used to have a remedy for this, because sometimes they fold in unnecessary parts, but I don't recall seeing that in Kyorager. And I finished watching Kyorager not too long ago. Right, so the next thing we need to do is we need to combine it with the Dino Charge Megazord for the Ultra Zord formation. And good, okay, this is going to be a bit easier than the other combination, like the Bakuritsu Kyoragen. I think that's a Japanese name for it, that I had to go through in the previous video, so hopefully this will be a bit easier. Right, so first thing we need to do is we need to remove the Dino Charge helmet of the Megazord, put it to the side, take off the little backpack tail thing, and fold this up here, because we're going to need that. And then I think that's about it for the Dino Charge Megazord, so we can put that off to the side. For now, I think, based on how this looks, I assume we have to put the helmet inside of here, but I don't want to do that on the basis of it looks very snug and it's going to probably get stuck. But yeah, it doesn't even seem to want to fit, so again, just I'm just going to have to take this helmet for spare parts, but again, I don't really mind that. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to take the legs of this Megazord here. Now, again, one thing I despise about this particular Megazord's legs is that even though they've got Zord Builder parts, this is literally unusable with everything that is not the Titano Charge Megazord, because the Zord Builder ports do not work like this. Then we've got to do is we've got to turn them upside down and fold open the feet parts so they resemble like more, I think, like high heels a bit more. There we go. And then we've got to attach them to the bottoms of the Dino Charge Megazord's feet. So just going to do that off screen because it's a bit awkward, and again, the last time I tried to do that on camera it nearly went horribly wrong. So I've learned from my mistake, I'm not going to do that again. Right, here we go. One, and then the other one. Two. There, done. And then we can bring this guy back in. Now, this is the Dino Charge Ultrazord. It's meant to be combined with the Parasaurolophus and the Velociraptor Zords, but I don't have those Zords, so we're going to have to improvise. As you can see, he's got his feet on now. Good. There's meant to be a Zord, I think it's the Parasaurolophus, on top of this peg here, which I remember on Fucurity they had to have like an adapter for, and they kind of remedied that, which I admire. I do, I really do. And the next thing we need to do, I think, is we need to remove the head from the Brachio Megazord, attach it back onto weapon. I think this is what we do, I'm not sure. It's what my memory is telling me, so I might get this bit wrong. And then for the rest of the Megazord, for the Titano Charge Megazord, it's a cannon, I believe. Unless I'm sorely mistaken, I'm forgetting something here. No, I don't seem to be. Right, first off, excuse me, what we've got to do is we've got to remove this back plate here inside Megazord head, which it's very snugly in there. We've got to remove that. We'll get to that in a minute, as we're going to try and figure out how this cannon works. Open that up there, and then I think we move these arms down to this bottom set of pegs, and they're very tight, so give me a sec. There we go. And I think we've got to manipulate these legs around somehow, so make the feet come out like that. This is looking a bit okay, this is looking a bit right. And I think we've got to do something with the... Oh, there we go. We've got to attach the neck via this little rectangular hole and this little peg down here. Now, something tells me this is wrong, because this is meant to close all the way and it's not. So I think we have to remove that. I don't know. This is wrong. This is what my memory is telling me. This is how it should look in my memory. This is the cannon formation. This is one hell of a thing. I don't know why this exists. It looks like an amalgamation. I think this is how it's supposed to look. It's what my memory is telling me is right. Although I suspect that this should be somewhere. Oh, wait a minute. Is this meant to go here or not? Based on the fact it might be like a third leg or something, I don't know. Like a fourth leg or something. Give me a second. There's another clip at the top. I'm not sure if that's meant to go there or something. No? Oh, no. It's contradicting itself. It's going in, but it's not clipping in all the way. So as far as I know, this bit is out of the question completely. So as far as I am concerned, this is the correct way to form this cannon. This is really still weird, it's not standing up. This is still one weird thing. That's the cannon done and dusted, so we can get that out of the way. Onto the floor. We can finish forming the Ultrazord, or forming it at least. Oh, I've just remembered something. It involves a bit of the cannon that I've just taken off. Nice one. See, this little port here is meant to be able to hold a Dino Charge Zord. It's meant to be the Velociraptor Zord for the little spear combination. But since I don't have that, we're going to have to ignore that bit. So apologies for that. Ignore that and focus on the actual Dino Charge Megazord. There's really only 2 more bits to do. First off, we've got to take the little plate here. It's a sticker. It was a metallic sticker, I think, on the Japanese version, but I like this design. They kept all the photos of all the Dino Charge Zords, which doesn't include the Spinosaurus, probably because in Japan the Spinosaurus was only movie exclusive. Attach it to the front clips. There we go. And then we've got to take the Dino head here. This piece was meant to be separate, but they made it on here. It's nicely painted, I must say. Back is just black plastic, nothing really that much interesting. Then we've got to slide this little cone piece, the tail, into the back of the helmet, and the helmet goes on top of the Megazord. It's got like a really big crown now, and ta-da! This is one hell of a Megazord. Design-wise, it's literally just a modified Dino Charge Megazord, which I'm not a fan of, let's be honest. Doesn't make full use of the Brachiozord, which is it's a shame, really. Just uses its legs as like heels or something. They could have gone the full. They could have done the full thing. They could have done the full amount by doing by combining all 10 Zords somehow. Because they had the T-Rex, the Parasaurolophus, the Stegosaurus, the Velociraptor, the Triceratops, Terra, Anki, Pachy, Plesio, and Brachio to work with. But instead we get this, which feels like a massively wasted opportunity. Yeah, I know they've done massive big combinations for Zords in the past, like with RPM, Samurai. Does Megaforce count? Megaforce should count, right? Because it's all 6 Rangers involved. Except, no, hang on. I'm not going to count Megaforce because it doesn't include a Megazord. Doesn't include the Ultra Zord. But yeah, they couldn't do massively big combinations. But they didn't do it for Curager / Dino Charge. And it feels like a wasted opportunity. Especially how they could have made that work. Although probably it was the best. Because sometimes they do like to rush those kinds of Megazords. For example, I think it's Good Cool Kaiser VSX of Kaitor Sentai Lupin Ranger versus K-Sat Sentai Patch Ranger. That design isn't very good. They literally stuck a couple of the Zords on the... They glued some Zords to the legs on the side, and they literally made the Red Trigger machine a cap. So this is probably why they don't always do these massive, great big flipping combinations, because they sometimes will either rush them or under-design them. Which, yeah, I can get. I mean, that's fair. I mean, that is fair. I do like the fact they kept the chest piece, though. In America, I remember, they made a couple of them, of these auxiliary Zords, as actual toys. I think they made the Dino Armor X Zord as a toy. They made the Gas Zord as a toy. The Hypnotize Zord as a toy, and the Archelon Zord as a toy. That's the Gravity Zord as a toy. And I feel like had they been given enough time, maybe more than just 2 years, I think they started doing it in Dino Supercharge. So if they had like an additional year or so to work with, they could have made all of them toys. They could have made the entire Auxiliary Zord line a thing. They could have done, had they been given enough time and inspiration, but that doesn't really seem realistically possible, does it? Because how are they supposed to come up with ideas for all the Auxiliary Zords when technically they already did the Dino Cycle, and the Dino Cycle sucked? I mean, again, the Dino Cycle was alright, but it didn't really count as a proper Zord, and that was meant to be the the Dinozord for the Dinocycle Charger. So they brushed off one of the Zords as a motorcycle. But in Japan, it was kind of the same. It wasn't a normal Zoodenry, it wasn't a proper Zord. It was still a transforming, did enough to qualify as a Zoodenry, but it wasn't a combining Megazord Zoodenry. It was like a side Zoodenry. So they kind of fluffed it in Japan as well. Although, again, what else could they do? Because it wasn't made to combine with any of the Megazord. They could have made a separate Megazord made of multiple auxiliary Dinozords, Zoodenryu, and they didn't do that. Why not? Especially because in the show, I believe, they briefly appear for about a couple of seconds, but if you look, again, if you look at some of the symbols on here, and also the same for these CGI models in the show, you can tell that some of them, I want to say, like, they look like modified versions of the main 10, because if you look, I think Alimeris, this one, and the Dino Blaze, Cupid, Stretch Chargers, they look very similar to the Tricera, T-Rex, and Plesiozords. Oh, and maybe the Helo Charger is a bit close to the Blaze and T-Rex. So the design department, they were okay. They were exhausted, but what else could they do, I suppose? Still doesn't mean there was no missed opportunities, though.